When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. If he's led to a fight and a duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Hey people, this is the fourth and final part of my Captain America video series. In this video I'm going to be talking about some of the important things to think about in order to make a great Captain America movie. I'll be pretty annoyed if they screw this movie up, because it's really not that hard to make a decent Captain America movie. There's just so much to draw from. Most superhero origin movies give the people working on them a beginning, but then they have to figure out where to go from there. This movie gives the filmmakers the beginning and the end. It's pretty obvious that it should start around the time that Steve Rogers is undergoing the super soldier procedure, and then end when he falls into the water and is frozen. All the writers really need to do there is fill in the gap. It's pretty obvious that the Red Skull is the main villain, so that's figured out, and right there you have a basic plot outline. Visually, there's a lot to take inspiration from. Obviously, the World War II setting will influence the look of the movie. Most World War II movies have kind of washed out colors that give them a distinctive older feel, so I think this movie should look sort of like that. I really liked the Ultimate Captain America World War II costume, so I thought it would be a great starting point for creating the movie costume. It has a very practical and realistic combat feel to it, more so than the classic costume. This is some concept art of the movie costume. When I first saw it, I thought the design was cool, but just a little bit too modern. Then I saw the Comic-Con concept art poster and I was sold. It really has the World War II movie look with Captain America thrown in. The costume has more of a rough and dirty look to it, which I think is great. If this picture is representative of the overall look and feel of the movie, then I think they've nailed it. They have kind of a reference for how to show Captain America's abilities on screen if they look at the Incredible Hulk, when Blonsky is on the bootleg super soldier serum. With all that to draw inspiration from, it should be pretty easy to make this a decent movie. With that said, while making a decent Captain America movie is easy, making a great movie is never easy. With any superhero movie, visuals are important, but I think this movie needs to really focus on being a character-driven story. Like I've emphasized before, this movie is partially about introducing Captain America to general audiences and making them like him. To do that, they really need to let people get to know Steve Rogers as a character and emphasize what makes him a great hero. When I think of Captain America, one of the first things that comes to mind is how much of an inspirational figure he is. It's pretty much a requirement for him to deliver at least one moving speech over the course of the movie, as well as a few good quotable lines thrown in too. This is closely related to his ability as a leader, so along with the speeches and the good lines, they should show that in his general interactions with people, he's able to inspire them to be all that they can be. If done right, Steve will not only inspire the characters that he meets, but the audience as well. While the portrayal of Steve Rogers depends a lot on the director Joe Johnston and the writers, this is going to be a major responsibility for Chris Evans. In terms of the tone of the story, it will be PG-13, as it should be. Joe Johnston has stated that it's not exactly a war film, which makes sense because it shouldn't be too serious. However, the things that Steve experiences during the war and how they affect him are a significant part of what makes the character who he is. To totally gloss over the gritty parts of what Steve would experience while fighting in a war would really hurt the story and hurt the development of the character. I believe Johnston has compared the movie to adventure stories like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that's a great source to take inspiration from because it's a great movie and it's a period piece that's both fun and timeless. Obviously, they should look at war movies for any big battle sequences. For the direction I think they should take their Invaders / Howling Commandos team, I think they should look at ensemble shoot-'em-up movies. I think that The Losers and the new A-Team movie are about the right tone for this team. For the scenes with the invaders, imagine movies like these and throwing in someone with the abilities of Captain America. I think there's really the potential to create some action scenes that are very fresh and unique. I mentioned earlier that the scene with Blonsky fighting the Hulk in The Incredible Hulk would be a good place to look for a sample of how to show Captain America's abilities on screen. There's also this scene in the opening video of the video game Marvel Ultimate Alliance that shows Captain America's combat style pretty realistically, that I think is also a good reference point. There are two scenes that I have ideas for that I think could turn out really cool. The first has Captain America, Bucky, and whoever's with them pinned down in some building surrounded by Nazis. The Nazi calls out to them, "Captain America, we have you surrounded, surrender now or die." Then Bucky asks Cap if they're going to surrender. Cap replies with his famous line, "I can't surrender, I don't know how." Then Bucky looks at him, he's like, "Cap, what are you going to do?" And then Cap just replies, "Cover me," and he runs out charging with his shield and just starts kicking major ass, and the rest of the team opens fire and they escape. So, I don't know. I think it's cool. Maybe it wouldn't work out so well, but that's one of them. The other scene that I'd really like to see is a Wolverine cameo. I know that the rights to the character are owned by 20th Century Fox, so he really can't make an appearance in this movie. However, I think they could get around this by not explicitly naming him. Hugh Jackman could just make a brief appearance as an unnamed soldier. The way I see it, they could have a scene that's sort of like one from X-Men Evolution, where Captain America teams up with Wolverine to liberate this concentration camp where Magneto is being held. And the scene would go like this. Captain America and Bucky are in this place with the rest of the soldiers before the mission. There's this one guy standing off, away from everybody else. You can't really see his face or anything. And Captain America asks Bucky if he knows anything about him. Bucky says, "Canadian. They say he's the best there is at what he does." And they do the mission, they come back, and Captain America sees this guy. So he goes over and he talks to him. He says, "You did a hell of a job back there. I didn't get your name." The guy looks at him and reveals to the audience that it's Hugh Jackman. And he says, "I didn't give it." And then he just walks away. I know it's far-fetched and there's pretty much no chance of this happening, but it would be awesome to see Wolverine in the Captain America movie. Of course, there's a lot more to making a great Captain America movie than what I've mentioned here, but I think through this video series I've been able to get across my vision for what Captain America the First Avenger should be. So, thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, and tune in next time.